everyone, a very warm welcome to this channel. My name is Farah. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And before we get to what this video is about, kindly take a second to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click on the notification bell so that you can be notified when I upload a new video. And guys, I'm begging you to please go to my playlist Storytime and view all my stories. Anyway, I was going through my wardrobe and I was just decluttering things that I haven't worn in a while, and I came across this dress. It's a pink dress, very tall, and this lasso, it's a top made out of a lasso. They don't fit me anymore, obviously, because I have grown. I'm now a woman and I owned these clothes when I was just a little girl. And I've decluttered so many times before, but somehow I have never gotten to get rid of these two because they have a story, and today I am going to narrate that story over here. So I insist, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly take a second and do so, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified when I upload a new video, and go to the playlist Storytime and view just all my stories, and yeah, get to know a little bit more about me. As I said, I have kept these clothes for so long. I think it's even more than 10 years, I think almost 15 years, and I haven't worn them. I just wore this dress once, and I don't even think I got to wear this lasso at some point, but I have a story time about it, and it's more of about a time where I was disappointed by my own dad. Like, yeah, of course, sometimes parents disappoint their kids, but I felt disappointed in a very major way. So I'm getting to the story shortly, and I don't know, after this maybe I'll be able to get rid of the clothes because I'm not wearing them and they don't even fit me. And I had tried to block out the memories of this particular day from my mind, and I'm still contemplating whether I'm still doing the right thing by narrating this story, but oh well, this is part of my journey as being Farah, so I'm going to narrate it anyway. So this particular visiting at Murray Girls High School, by now you all know that I went to Murray Girls High School, Taita. My dad came for the visiting as usual, and he was so happy, and I didn't think much about it. In fact, it's good to be happy. But he was extremely happy, and I didn't know the cause of his happiness, but I just went with the flow. And he kept on asking, when are you closing school? When are you closing school? And I kept on telling him the date when we were closing school. And in my mind, I thought that he was asking so that he can just plan himself to send transport money. So I didn't think much about it. And then we continued with our stories as usual, and then it was time for him to leave, and he asked me that question again: when are you closing school? And I told him when we are closing school, and he said, okay, you'll just call me like before so that I can send you transport money. I was like, okay, no problem. And that day, I'm telling you, hey, I was given like more money than usual because he was in a good mood. I was like, okay. And you know, when you are in high school and you're being given more money, that meant that I wouldn't eat the school food. I will just be in the canteen all day long eating some fancy nice things. Anyway, so my dad left, and then fast forward, I called him. He sent money for transport, and then we closed. And when he was sending money for transport, he insisted, like, when you get home, call me. Like, when you immediately get home, call me. And I was like, okay, I will call you. Didn't think much of it either at that point. So I got home, and then I called him. I'm like, okay, I'm now home. And he said, okay. So he told me, like, you will have to come to Rabai. And in my mind, I didn't think much about it even until then. Like, we usually go to Rabai like all the holidays, so it was just like a normal day for me, like any other day for me. Like, we have closed school, so I have to go to Rabai and spend the holiday there, like some few weeks or some few days, because Rabai and Mombasa, it's not that far. I could just even go back and forth even when I wanted to. So I was like, it was normal for me to spend my holidays in Rabai. So I didn't think much of it. And fast forward to this particular day, someone was sent for us, for my siblings and I, to take us to Rabai. And we were told, like, pack your clothes. Like, hey, all those things. Huh? Pack our clothes. So my siblings and I packed our clothes, and this person said, like, before we go to Rabai, you're supposed to go to Chuda to your auntie. And then from Chuda, you will go to Rabai. Didn't think much about it. We normally go to, like, for sleepovers to my aunt's house at Chuda all the time. And it was just nothing new to me. I was like, okay, it looks like this holiday is well planned. So we are going to go to Chuda first, and then from Chuda, we go to Rabai. That's what I thought. So we packed our clothes, my siblings and I, and then this person took us to Chuda. So while we were at Chuda, that was when we realized what was going on. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, there was a wedding. A wedding was being planned, and this wedding was my dad's wedding. Who was the bride to be? I don't even know. I had no idea. Like, it was a shock to me. And how we found out, my brother came across a wedding invitation card, and the names there were my dad's name and this lady that we have no idea who she is. And my brother came and showed me the card, like, hey, look at this card. And I was reading that card, like, could there be, like, another person who also has my dad's name that is going to wed soon? Like, I was in denial. Like, hey, I'm telling you, my brother and I were so confused. Like, my dad is having a wedding, and it's not even about the confusion of my dad having a wedding. It's like no one had talked to us about this wedding. We had no idea what was happening. We found out through that invitation card that my dad was having a wedding. And it left us so confused, and the people around us were talking to us like we already knew what was happening, but we had no idea what was happening. No one had spoken to us. And if my brother had not found out that invitation card, I'm sure we would have still been in the dark until then. So as we were there, we were just puzzled, and we were just like thinking, oh, okay, so there's going to be a wedding. We had to start now processing that information in our minds, like, okay, there's going to be a wedding, and the groom is my dad, and the wife to be, we had no idea who this woman was. All we knew was the name that was printed in that invitation card. And I was like, okay, I guess there's going to be a wedding. So now, as things were happening, like the people were planning, so they are buying things, blah blah blah, and we were just there like confused little people. And we decided to just move on with our lives and just wait and see if my dad was really the groom, or like we were just flowing with the things. So my aunt tells me, okay, you have to dress up, I have to take you to town, you have to go to a tailor, there are some measurements that they have to be taken, and there's a cloth that is going to be made for you. Okay, I dressed up, I went to town, and there Markiti, people in Mombasa, Markiti. So we went to Markiti. There are some tailors, like open market tailors, those open market tailors over there at Markiti. And I was told, sit down here. So the tailor took my measurements, and that was the day that this lasso was being made for me. So the tailor took the measurements, and then my auntie had some other errands to run, those things like Madeiras and everything, coastal weddings, So my auntie was like, I'm just going through these shops, so you have to wait for me here and wait until the tailor finishes whatever, because I didn't even know what he was making. All I knew was that I had to be there, and my measurements were to be taken, and then I had to wait for the cloth to be made. Then I found out that he was making this top of a lasso, and then another lasso to wrap around here at the bottom. So my auntie went about her errands, and then I came back here. I sat there at the tailor's place and I waited for this to be made. So this is how the story of this came about to be. So I sat there and it was being made, and it was just quiet because I was deep in thoughts. And at that time, my auntie was talking to me like I had already been informed about everything, and no one had talked to me about anything. I was just going with the flow. So I was just sitting there. We were very quiet. You could only hear the sounds of the machines making clothes. It was like silence just with the sounds of the machines. And even I think the tailor noticed that I was like deep in thoughts. But yeah, I just sat there quietly waiting for this top to be made. And the tailor finished making for me this top. I fitted it and it fit perfectly, but right now it can't fit me because yeah, of course I have grown. But yeah, and then it was this top and then a lasso to wrap around. And I was really happy because I had always wanted to have like a lasso cloth. I had never owned one before, so this was like my first lasso top. So to me, I was like, finally I get to own a lasso top. So I was happy about the cloth, but I was still puzzled about the situation that was going on. So later on, my auntie came for me and then we went back to Chuda. And I was just seeing like the wedding preparations were still going on and stuff and everything, but no one had still communicated to me what, or to, rather to us, to my siblings and I, what was happening. So the next day we wake up very early in the morning, we go to Rabbi, and when we landed at Rabbi, hey, you know, like everyone was in a festive mood and people had already started like coming in. And you know, like Rabbi weddings, people come in as early as 1 week earlier so that they can also assist in the preparations and everything. So you'll find other people there with rice, wanadondoa mchele hapo, and other people were just doing everything. People were just busy. Everyone was busy doing things. And no one has talked to me. So I finally saw my dad, said hi, but he was so busy. Like he had no time to sit down for like any conversation or anything. He was like busy with the planning and making sure like everything is okay, everyone is okay, and people were just asking for money for like buying things like, oh, hakuna mafuta, hakuna nini. He was just chucking out money, giving people to buy whatever they needed. You know, this was like Monday, a week earlier. So it was now serious. And people were talking to us there in Rabbi, like we had already been told what was going on. They were like, hey, Arusi, yeah. And we just went with the flow. Like we just had to go with the flow. So we rested that day. The next day, early in the morning, I was told to get ready. I was being taken to another tailor now at Rabbi. So we woke up early in the morning. My cousin Farah was the one who was taking me to the tailor, but he was like, I'll take this opportunity to give you a little history of Rabbi and everything. And I enjoyed that little history class that we had that day. So we were walking from where we lived to the tailor's place. It was quite a distance, but on the way he was telling us about, here some who lives here and what, and I used to go to school until here, you know, normal Rabbi history. It felt nice, and you know, anything about my roots, I'm down for it. So we fast forward, we get to the tailor, my measurements were taken. I had no idea what kind of cloth that was going to happen, like what kind of cloth that the tailor was going to make for me. All I knew is that my measurements were taken. Then we went about with our tour. We went until the Rabbi Museum. Then we came back, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a nice walk that day. But I had no idea what kind of cloth this tailor was making. So I just assumed it was like a normal dress for me to wear to the wedding. Fast forward to now Friday of the wedding was on Saturday. So this particular Friday. So on Friday, I was like, I don't have shoes. if I'm going to attend this wedding, what shoes am I going to wear? I have no shoes, and I had no shoes. I only had the shoes that I wore to go to Rabbi, and it was like, I think, sneakers and sandals. So that was the only thing that I had in Rabbi. I didn't have any other shoes. And if the tailor was making me a dress, the dress was not going to go with the sneakers that I had. So I was like, hey dad, I have no shoes. I have to go and buy shoes in Mombasa. And he was like, oh, okay. So remember, this is Friday morning. Another cousin of mine was instructed to take me to Mombasa to go around town and look for shoes that will go with the dress. Remember, I have no idea what kind of dress that was being made. I didn't even know the color of the dress, the fabric, anything. All I knew was that I just had to buy shoes that would go with a dress. So my cousin and I went to Mombasa that Friday morning, and we went around town. We finally got nice shoes, like those, it was heels. They were just nice shoes. I don't have those shoes at the moment. I don't even know where they went, but they were nice shoes. Heels that were comfortable, and they were like open toe, something like that. So we bought the shoes, and then I told my cousin, I still have to go to my mom's house and pick up some of my other clothes, because I didn't carry enough clothes while we were going to Rabai. And I said, I need even more shoes, because whatever I have at Rabai is just sneakers and sandals. So I need to go home and pick up like more shoes. And my cousin was like, okay, but make sure you come back early. You know, today is Friday, and in the evening there's always rush hour. Yeah, it's true. On Fridays, hapo kwa stage ya Rabai, there's normally a lot of people, because most of the people work in other towns, maybe Mombasa, Malindi, Kilifi, and then on Fridays is when they go back maybe home to Rabai, and then they back to work on Monday. So on Fridays, hapo kwa hiyo stage ya Rabai, there's normally so many people. It's like rush hour and very few vehicles. So I was told, make sure you come back early before rush hour begins. And I was like, I'm just going to pick the shoes. It will be just like in and out, picking the shoes and coming back. So on Friday afternoon, it was not yet even in the afternoon. It was like around 11, let's say almost noon. I went home at Ganjoni, and surprisingly, my mom was at home. So my mom was like, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be at Rabai? And I was like, oh, okay, I just came to pick up my shoes. And my mom was like, okay, but it was more of an awkward conversation, because I didn't know whether my mom knew or my mom was in the dark, and I didn't know how to tell her or how to have that conversation, and it was just awkward for me as a little girl. It was very, very awkward. So I just pretended that I was there to pick the shoes. I didn't even really need other shoes. But since my mom was at home, I picked the shoes and I left. And in my mind, I was to go home and stay home and not go back to Rabai, to be honest. That was my plan, and just to stay home. But my plan backfired. So I just picked the shoes. I don't even know which shoes I picked. I can't even remember, but I just picked random shoes, and I was like, oh, I just came to pick these shoes. So I picked the shoes and I went. So as I left the house, I was wondering, like, where am I going to go now? Because I just don't feel like going back to Rabai. I don't feel like going to Rabai at all. And I called my friend Caro. I was like, hey, are you home today? And she was like, yes, I'm home. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm coming to say hi. And guys, Caro lives in Kilifi, not even in Mombasa. So mimi huyo, I went to board the Kilifi Malindi mats, and then I went to Caro's place. So Caro thought that I was just there to say hi and stuff, and we were just chatting, talking and everything. And then finally I opened up to Caro. I was like, you know, tomorrow is my dad's wedding and I'm still here. And I don't think I'm going to attend that wedding. And Caro was like, hey, you have to attend that wedding. I'm like, I don't feel like attending that wedding. No one told me about this wedding. I just found out through an invitation card, and people assume I knew everything about this wedding, and I have no information about this wedding. I'm just there. I'm just in the dark. And Caro was like, oh, you have to attend. It's your dad, blah, blah, blah. You know, that talk. And I was like, I get it. But it doesn't feel right. Yeah, you know, I was just explaining, like, it doesn't feel right for me to attend this wedding. Ladies and gentlemen, another shock on me. I was a bridesmaid in this wedding. So the measurements that were being taken for like on that day, it was for this dress. And these were the bridesmaid dresses. And I had no idea. What? Even my voice is beginning to disappear. But remember, I had not even seen this dress. And this is Friday. Now it's at around 3 p.m. And now phone calls have started flowing through my phone. People are calling me asking, where are you? Where are you? Your dad is looking for you. And my answer was the same. Oh, I'm coming. So whenever they called, I would just be like, I'm coming. So my dad will be told, oh, she's coming. But time went and I was nowhere to be seen. And I was still in Kilifi. By the time I had to get to Mombasa first and then take another matatu to Rabai, it would have taken me like 3 hours. Not 3 hours, like 2 hours or so. But this was before the SGR was built. So that road was full of traffic because of the trailers traveling. So yeah, it would have taken me more hours. And at that time, I didn't know about that other route to Kaloleni then to Rabai. Because if I had known about that, maybe I would have used that route. It would have been much easier. So I had to go back to Mombasa and then back to Rabai. And it reached a point that I didn't even now pick any calls that were coming in because I was like, nah, I just told them I'm coming. These people are just pestering me. And it dawned on me, I had not even gone for the dress to the tailor. So now I started I called Effie. I said, Effie, do me a favor. Please go to the tailor and pick the dress for me. Mind you, this dress, I had not done any fitting. And I had not even seen how it was going to look like. So it was like, just go and pick the dress for me and take it to Rabai, like home. And I'll find it at home. But deep down, I was like, I'm not going. Guys, Caro chased me. Caro chased me from her house. And she was like, if you're not going to the wedding, that's on you. But you're not going to stay here either. So now I had no option. Caro had chased me from their home. I had to board a matatu to Mombasa. And this was around now in the evening. I board a matatu to Mombasa. I got to the stage there. It was there, Kobil. I got to Kobil. It was a nightmare, guys. So many people were on stage waiting for the Kaloleni matatus. And hey, there were no matatus. And each matatu came, people were scrambling. You know the way people fight to get into matatus. And I was like, I had no chance here. I don't know how to fight to get into a matatu. So I was being called, like, where are you? Like, now it's becoming serious. It was at night. It was, I think, at around 7 already. Where are you? You're supposed to be. So normally the tradition was like, as a bridesmaid, I was supposed to be with the wife to be during that night so that we can wake up early in the morning and get ready together, everyone. But I was still not even at Rabai. So people were looking for me so that I can be transported to the wife to be's place. And it was like a nightmare. So I'm there. It's 7 p.m. No matatus. Everyone was scrambling for the few matatus that were coming in. And I was like, I have no chance. I might as well now go back to Ganjoni because I have a legit excuse. I was there at stage and there were no matatus. Anything to get out of going to that wedding. So apparently, I don't know who was sent to come and help me to get a matatu to go to Rabai. And that is how I got a matatu to go to Rabai. I don't know it was at around what time. And all I remember is that I got to Rabai at 10 p.m. and my dad was pissed at me. Hey, I'm telling you. And while everyone was shouting like, where are you, blah blah blah, and I told them, hey, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day, and all you can do is just shout at me. And they're like, oh. Now they started there was not even food. They started looking for like what I could eat in the kitchen. And then it was like ugali and beans that was available. I was like, ugh, am I back in school? But anyway, I was really hungry, so I ate that ugali and beans that Friday night, and I was like, there's no time. Even the eating, I was haraka haraka wafa kutoka hapa. Like I was supposed to eat quickly so that I can go to the wife to be's house. So yeah, I ate really quickly, and then we were taken to the wife to be's. It was, I don't know, it was within Rabai as well. So we went there, and you know the tradition of the sanduku. The sanduku is every item that the wife to be needs during the wedding day. So the groom's people have to take the sanduku to the wife to be's people to so that they can inspect it and say like, yeah, everything is here. And if they accept that sanduku, there is a wedding tomorrow. If the sanduku is not accepted, you have to give in to their demands. They will either demand for cash or anything. Like they will just say maybe something is not here, and you have to provide that thing so that there can be a wedding tomorrow, something like that. So we went with a bunch of people with the sanduku, and from there I'm telling you, you know those traditions there, the way they are like, they're inspecting things. Oh, there's this, okay, there's this, okay, okay, blah blah blah. And then it's like, oh, you need to top up this kind of money, blah blah blah. You know, they have to extort you. Some normal traditions. And I was just there. I was bored. I was pissed. I was moody. I was all things, all emotions. So hours went by. It's midnight now, and I think a few minutes past midnight was when the sanduku was accepted. And me, I was just like, if they can't accept that sanduku, so we just go back home. Is it a must? And people are looking at me like, keep quiet, like you're just crazy. I was like, kwani ni lazima kama wataki hiyo sanduku turudini tu, kwani ni lazima. Yeah, so finally the sanduku was accepted. People went back to Rabai, and I was told, stay here. So now the real confusion began. I'm staying there. I know no one. Everyone else is on the other side. And the thing that pained me the most, you know, not to brag, but our people know how to party. My Rabai people on my side, we know how to party. We know how to have a good time. So when I left home there at Rabai, the party was going on. People were just enjoying. And I was like, I left all that party to come here and be confused and not know what is going on. And so I sat there in confusion. I knew no one. No one had directed me to anything. So I just sat in one of the chairs. The music was just going on. People were doing their own thing. So I'm seated there confused. I don't know where to go. Finally, I saw one of my cousin who was a bridesmaid as well. And I was like, oh, finally, a familiar face. And I asked, like, what's going on here? And he was like, oh, you're here. Go into that room, People are, like, getting ready and everything. I'm like, oh, cool. So, no sleeping as well. Great. I was tired, so it meant like no sleeping that night because people were getting ready, because it was already past midnight. And I was like, okay, but I need to rest. I was told, like, just go into that room. So I went into that room. Oh, beautiful, beautiful ladies. And I saw a familiar face. Apparently, first of all, I had left a little bit detail behind. I got to know the bride's sister before even knowing the bride. During that week at Rabai, I got to meet the sister. She introduced herself to me, and we got along really well. The bride's sister is a very cool sister. Okay, I've never seen her again ever since that time, but we really got along well. So I saw the bride's sister and it was like, ooh, cool, another familiar face. So I was just in the room. It was a room full of beautiful ladies. Everyone was looking great. I'm telling you, everyone was wanapendeza sana. But in my mind, I was like, who could the bride be? I'm studying everyone one by one, guys. I'm like, could the bride be that one? No, because at that time, the bride had not yet. You could not have known who the bride was, because unless she was putting on the gown, I couldn't have known. Everyone was just there, story, wakuchorwa chorwa mapiko, nini nini, vitu kaa hizo. But I didn't know. So I was like, could the bride to be this one? Ah, no, she doesn't look like the bride to be. Could it be that one? She doesn't look like the bride to be. So I was playing the guessing game in my mind. I still didn't know who the bride to be was. I just knew her sister. And watu wamefanana hapo, so I didn't know. So fast forward, it was I think 4 a.m. now. It was like, oh, the bride has to get ready. And it was like, so now this is the bride to be. So imagine, that was when I got to know the bride. Like on that morning at 4 a.m. while she was now getting ready. But I had no idea who she was before that. And I remember she said hi before, but I just said hi back. Like, I just thought she was like any other person there in the room, because I said hi to everyone. But during now the preparations, when they were now talking like, hey, sijui wafaa ule pia vizuri ushibe kabisa, blah blah blah, I was like, okay, so this is the bride to be. So that was when I got to put the face behind the name. So we got ready, yeah, and this was the dress, the bridesmaid dress. I thought it was ugly. I was like, what an ugly choice at that time. I don't know if I was a hater but I really thought it was like an ugly choice. But I felt nice because it fit me perfectly. I had not done the fitting before, but it fit me perfectly. So it was like, oh, it fits me nicely. And I was impressed with the shoes that I bought. So I still felt nice. And my makeup was done. My hair was... By the way, how was my hair? Guys, I have no memory of that day. Like, I literally like tried to block this memory from my head. Yeah, I just blocked everything. Like, I can't remember. And fast forward, on Saturday, we were taken to the church, and then the wedding happened. And I remember avoiding any photos during that day. Like, I didn't want to be part of anything. The only thing I did was march to the wedding, on the altar. Other than that, there are no photos of me during that day. And if there are, I don't know where they are, because I think maybe the bride has the photos. But personally, when I went through my dad's belongings, there were wedding photos for sure, but there were no photos of me during that day at all. So I don't remember everything. And this is a memory that I have actively tried to block it from my mind until today. But yeah, so this is how these two outfits came to be. So this was the dress that I wore during the wedding, and this was supposedly the top that I was supposed to wear on Friday evening, but I never got to wear it. So it was still new. Even after I got to wear it, like many months later after the wedding, for an event. It was like what? Not even many months, it was many years later. It was like pwani something. Then I wore this top. But other than that, this top remained new for a while. I didn't get to wear it because of the Friday commotions that was happening. But I wore this on Saturday morning and I marched on that wedding. Even though no one had informed me that I was going to be a bridesmaid until then. I just had to find out that I was one of the bridesmaids, and that was like, oh my god. So yeah, I wore this on Saturday, and ever since I have kept these clothes for some reason. I haven't even thrown them away, and even though they don't fit me anymore, I don't know. But maybe by me telling this story now, I can be able to now let go of them for good. But yes, guys, and let me tell you something. It's not even about like my dad getting married to someone else. I had no issue with that. The issue was the communication part. Like, no one had informed us anything, and that was sad to me. Like, finding out things like that, I didn't feel appropriate. And let me tell you, back at Murray Girls High School, uh, there was one teacher called Mr. Mushiri, and Mr. Mushiri was on duty. So, as usual, during morning preps, I had this habit. I will go for morning preps and then wait for the teacher on duty to do patrol, or the deputy principal to do the patrol. And as soon as they finished their patrol, I will sleep on my desk. My morning preps were mainly to extend my sleep. So this particular time, Mr. Mushiri came back patrolling, and I was found sleeping on my desk. And he just did like this: tap, stand up, follow me around. And if like that day, we just followed, it was a bunch of us. So we were just following Mr. Mushiri around in the cold as he went on patrolling other classes and finding other culprits. So after that, Mr. Mshiri said, like, you'll have to come to my office later for the punishment. And first we went for breakfast, and then later on, a bunch of us who were caught the culprits. There was another girl, I think she was caught stepping on the shoes, on her shoes. You know the way you can step on your shoes on the back, and Mr. Mshiri was like, come back to my office later. So we all went to his office later and ready to see what the punishment was all about. And then that day, surprisingly, there was no punishment for us. Mr. Mushiri did not give us a punishment. Instead, it turned into a guidance and counseling session. So what I remember from that day is Mr. Mushiri saying, like, you guys, you girls, like, what are you doing? Your parents have sacrificed a lot for you to be in school, and you are busy joking like now me. Like, you're sleeping in class instead of studying hard. Do you know how much your parents have sacrificed for you to be in school, and you're not studying, you're sleeping instead? And I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, they've sacrificed. But oh my god, guys, I loved sleeping. I still do. I still love sleeping. But at that point, like, morning preps, that was my habit. Morning preps were like an extension of my sleep. So, and the other girl was, and they were saying, like you're stepping on those shoes, do you know how much money your parents have sacrificed to buy those shoes? And you know the way the school shoes are expensive, blah 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 blah. Now it turned into a guidance and counseling session, and we started opening up about our problems, and everyone was saying about what they were going through. And I remember even my friend AC, I don't know what AC did, but even my friend AC was there. And I remember people were talking about, like, oh, there's a lady who was saying, like, the way her mom has, like, now a new man in her life, and she was not too fond of that idea and stuff. And that was when Mr. Mushiri told us, like, you guys, you need to realize that your parents are grown-ups and they can do whatever they want. And besides that, she asked the lady, like, don't you want your mom to be happy? And the answer was like, yeah, I want my mom to be happy. And what if that man makes your mom happy? Don't you want that man to be in your mom's life so that your mom can be happy? And that girl was like, yeah, I guess so. And it's like yeah, so if your parent, like, meets someone else, you have to be open to the idea, and you have to let that person in, because that person, like, makes your parent happy. So why do you want to interfere with that? And I remembered those words from Mr. Mushiri that day. So fast forward to my situation. It was not about the wedding. It was not about my dad marrying someone else. It was just about not being informed or rather my siblings and I, not being informed about what was happening. We were in the dark, and that was the thing that hurt the most. We could have been told about everything from the word go so that we knew what was happening, but we never knew what was happening. So that was the thing that I felt disappointed by. Like, I felt like my dad had failed us in that area. And fast forward, after the wedding was over, the next day, actually on Sunday, because they didn't go for, did they go for their honeymoon direct? No, I don't, they didn't go for their honeymoon immediately. So the next day, my dad called my siblings and I now, and he explained to us, like, you know, blah blah blah, 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 blah. I can't even remember what, like, exact what he said, but all I remember was that he explained to us, like, what was happening and, like, everything. But this was a conversation that was supposed to be had before and not after. So yeah, fast forward that Sunday, my dad finally called us and explained to us everything, and we were like, yeah, we understand, yes, blah blah blah. But I was still hurt that he did not tell us before. But after that conversation, I guess everything became easy. Like, I was like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. It was like more of a calm situation then. Anyway, that is my story about how I came into possession of these two items. And let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. I don't think I have anything else to add. There are more stories that followed afterwards, but that is for another video at another time maybe. But yeah, this was my experience and part of what I have gone through in life, and it made me who I am today, and I am grateful for that. So if you have reached this point, thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I'll see you on the next one, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment and share, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Goodbye.